breaking news from RTV6.
I could see debris flying above the house across the street from me, and so I just screamed at her, "Hit the basement!"
Right now at 7, a barn destroyed, roofs torn apart. The tornado that touched down in central Indiana and the damage left in its path.
Tonight, the National Weather Service is on the ground surveying the damage from that fast-moving storm. Early estimates indicate that storm clocked wind speeds around 100 miles per hour. We have live team coverage of that tornado, and we start with RTV6's Mike Pelton, live with the barn's owner, who has an amazing story to tell. Mike?
Yeah, well, Eric, I'm right where that tornado touched down along 875 East, just west of the road. A witness told us earlier today that that tornado first came down right atop that barn you see behind me here. There is a good amount of damage. The National Weather Service confirming that as an EF1 tornado, wind speeds up to 100 miles an hour. And take a look at all the shrapnel, all the debris you can see strewn across the yard here. That tornado eventually ended up moving east and going back into the sky. Now, I want to bring in the property owner here. His name is Michael Carter. He actually owns Carter Van Lines here in central Indiana. And Michael, you have a pretty unique story here. Where were you when this tornado actually touched down?
I was actually in the house, and I didn't actually hear the tornado until it was right over the top of the house.
Let's show where that house is, because this is just a couple of 100 feet away from where that tornado touched down. When did you come to, and what did you hear?
All I heard was a big rumble of noise. And it just woke me up, and it didn't hurt the house. All I saw was...
At what point do you realize it's a tornado that had just landed a couple 100 feet away?
I didn't even know that. I didn't know that till after it was over. And it was over in the neighborhood across the street, and I was more concerned about that.
Now, what was inside the barn that was destroyed there?
It was just log cabin beams and 3 mowers.
Now, you were telling us about the barn that's just about 20 feet to the left there, and I think we have a picture of what's inside. Can you tell us what is inside that barn and why you're so grateful that one wasn't destroyed?
I've got a 1940 panel van in there and a 1950 Hearst, and I was just glad that nothing else got hurt. My son-in-law has got bikes, motorcycles, and we just use it for restoring cars.
You got a little emotional there, so obviously that property means a lot to you. I'm sure your life means a whole lot to you. How fortunate do you feel, given that where the tornado went, that nothing was more seriously hurt or injured?
Yeah, it was just like a path. It just went a path, and it was going at an angle, and I was more worried about people across the street.
Pretty lucky.
Yeah.
You said you've lived here for more than 2 decades. How does this compare with any afternoon you've ever lived through before?
I mean, there's been storms and stuff through here, but there's never been a tornado.
So, Michael, thank you very much for the time. And everyone has been, Jason and Erica, everyone's been in a pretty good mood out here. You walk up and down 875 East, a lot of the neighbors are coming out. They're very shaken up, of course, but a lot of people are cracking jokes. This gentleman here has been cracking jokes with us the past couple of hours, and that's because, yes, there's a lot of damage to this barn. There's some damage to some houses across the street, but all things considered, no injuries, and that's the big takeaway this afternoon. Back to you guys.
Silver lining on that storm for sure. Thank you, Mike. That work underway right now to repair damage to those homes in a Boone County neighborhood. We've been watching that now for the past couple of hours from Skycam 6. RTV6's Chance Walser has been on the scene all afternoon. Joins us with new information this evening. Chance.
Okay, so first the lay of the land. You see over my left shoulder here, that's the barn. That's where you just heard from Mike. And you can see in the field right next door a lot of debris, a lot of siding, a lot of sheet metal, a lot of that making its way to this neighborhood across the street. We showed you the barn damage. This is the major house damage. Not a lot when you consider a tornado came through here, but that tornado punched a hole through this thing. Crews have wrapped it up, tarped it up, but we have video now of what it looked like earlier. Certainly a scary situation for a grandmother who was here tending her 2 young grandbabies when this thing went through. And as I mentioned, a lot of debris in this neighborhood in the immediate aftermath. A lot of people out and about trying to calm themselves down, and certainly a lot of the anxiety wore off as people learned that no one was hurt. But again, I mentioned the grandmother that was inside here with her 2 grandbabies, just trying to keep them safe as she heard this thing barreling toward her.
I saw the swirling out the back window, and Thankfully, it wasn't terrible, or we probably would have been caught in that.
Did you see what you thought was a tornado swirling, or just debris and sheet metal flying around?
Debris and sheet metal, wind, the trees were bent. That's about all I really remember.
It's interesting to hear people describe this thing. Gene talked about it sounding like a really loud clap. Other people, and you may have heard this one described as it rolled through as a freight train coming through. A lot of different perspectives here, but one common sentiment, which is everyone is grateful that no one was hurt. Back to you.
All right, Chance Walser, thank you so much. We want to show you some pictures of the tornado itself. We received dozens of pictures and videos of that funnel cloud as it formed. Now our Skycam 6 has found the actual path of that storm. RTV6's Paris Lubell has that.
We're over what we believe to be the actual path of the tornado. You can see, if you look closely at the center of your screen, what look to be spirals in that field, and that's the look that you typically get from a tornado. But then if you go just beyond the tree line here, you'll see exactly where that tornado took out the barn here and really did quite a bit of damage. But then police say it started to lift off, and that's where we believe that it continued across the road here, and in the tail end of it hit the edge of the house there. A lot of damage to these two houses, the barn and then the house across the street there. But we also looked around the neighborhood and didn't find any damage to any of those houses, and really didn't even see any overturned furniture in people's backyards. So thankfully just these two homes, unfortunately for those families, but not a lot of damage from this. But again, we believe this to be now the path that we're flying over of the actual tornado. We're up in Skycam 6 right now. We'll send it back to you.